Good evening, welcome to my laboratory. I'm going to try to show a little bit of my workflow while I'm doing um, this data entry and experimentation. As you know, I'm saving my data in the form of camera images of the apparatus and the thermometer and the meters, and they are saved into the camera on this compact flash card. So I put the compact flash card into the card reader, and I get a window that comes up with all of the image files that I've taken, and by the usual process of selecting a bunch of files and cutting and pasting them, I wind up with them over and placed in a directory that I've already prepared for them over here called images, and there's 63 or so images there from the last couple of data runs that I've done. And as you can see, I don't know, can you see? They have names like IMG 5230 or something like that. Can you see the names that they have there? Those are very awkward and not descriptive names. So we pull up this application called KRename there, and we want to add some files to it. So we pull up this directory 4Q25 images, and we go open, and now we have a list of all of those files in the working window of the KRename tool, and we just check to make sure that they're there and that they're sorted in the order that we want, which is ascending. And then we go to the file rename feature. We want to put a numerical suffix in there of 3 digits. We want to use custom file name, and we'll use one of these descriptive ones here and change it so that it's what we really want. 4Q25. And then I like to change the extension to lowercase. It comes out of the camera as an uppercase. Now down here you can see a list of the original file names and the renamed names, so we just check those to make sure that they're consistent. And then we go finish. And as you can see, it renames all the files quite rapidly according to that pattern that we just selected. And if I don't like what I see, I always have this the undo feature over here where I can reverse what I've just done. This KRename tool is very, very handy. Okay, so we're done with that. And we'll order these in the usual way from ascending to descending. Okay. So now I have the data files in there. Exposure 1 of 60, like that. Okay. So now what I do is I just take this image window and I right click on the top and select always on top so I can see it. And then I pull up the spreadsheet in LibreOffice Calc, and there is the big spreadsheet with all of the nice graphs and the data tables and all of that in there. And then what I do is I just go over to the data portion, and one at a time I step through the data files and I add in the manual readings of the temperature that I read on the thermometer until I get a nice big list of 60 values. And then I plot those values on the appropriate plots, like the let's see, there's the main calibration plot there, There's the normal graph where you can read in your applied DC power and get an equivalent wattage out of it, or rather read in a temperature and get an equivalent DC power level. And then here is sort of the final data output graph where we can compare the efficiency of devices under test with data that I got from the calibration, straight DC calibration run. Okay, so once the data is entered into the spreadsheet, I like to make a little movie that shows the animation of all of the data files, right? And the way that I do that is I use the Linux application called OpenShot, which is a nonlinear video editor. And I import the files, the images, and you can see OpenShot asks me if I would like to open or import this directory full of files as an image sequence. So I say yes, and I want to display 30 frames per image, so that gives me 1 second of the final video at 30 frames per second. 1 second of the final video per image, and each image is a minute of the real-time sampling. So I have 1 minute that covers an hour of videos. So we import the image segments, and then we can put those images down on the OpenShot timeline and play them. And we can see now that we have, in the preview screen, we can see that we have the animation going at 1 frame per second. Okay, and I can of course add the little video clips that I add, and add effects and fades and stuff like that. And then when I'm done, I do the render. And this takes a little bit of time, so I'm not going to do it live on screen, but I export the video into a final package into the directory that I'm using. Okay. So it's all pretty easy to do, and it's all pretty straightforward, and the fact that I'm using a Linux machine here instead of a Windows machine actually makes it easier, I think, because well, I mean, you can see what happens. It's fairly easy to do, and I haven't had to deal with a command line interface at any time, although if I want to, I can. The terminal is always available if one needs to use it. Okay, that's the workflow of getting the data into the computer, and an introduction to making the little time-lapse video. Thanks for watching.